Hi Patriots, welcome back to the Erin Moffat channel, and tonight I am premiering The Spider and the Fly. This is making a lot of connections of the web that has been created by the deep state, and these aren't all connections. There's so many connections and it gets so confusing, but I think that you'll very much enjoy this and you'll see connections that maybe you didn't see before, or maybe you already did, but they were new for me, and so I want to share it. I am so grateful that you are here, because without you, then I don't have a channel, and you are what matters. I would love it if you would go check out my gold and silver business. It's www.7kmetals.com/Lady Liberty, and I will put that in the description box. Because if you're not already buying silver and gold, today is the day to start. Silver is still down very low at a great price, and you can start stacking slow or quickly. So let's get doing it together. Now on with The Spider and the Fly. This particular video began when I was informed Q had mentioned McKinsey & Company after I had done some research on Quantum Black and found McKinsey & Company. I went to QMap and found post 350. Here it is, just to remind you. My eyes went immediately to the bottom where the name McKinsey & Company is located, and I pretty well stayed stuck at the bottom for quite some time, so let's start there first. I of course did research on Ian Cameron, who worked for ABC, was from Canada, and is married to Susan Rice. He and his wife are another of those incestual mainstream media and government connections. All in all, I couldn't find a lot about him, and nothing was helping me to connect any dots, even after extensive research into others connected to him, not including Susan Rice. If there is something significant you know about him in particular, please feel free to put the information in the comments below. Next, I did some looking into Emmett Rice, who was the father of Susan Rice. Her again, huh? And he was the governor of the Federal Reserve. I was beginning to feel that everything that is connected was pointing to Susan Rice. Apparently, Emmett wasn't too great at his job at the Fed. What I found to be more interesting about Emmett Rice than anything he was known for was what his wife was known for. Lois Dixon was a pretty prominent woman in the black community. Her parents were from Jamaica, and supposedly her mother, Mary Daly, was a maid. I'll mention some interesting tidbits about my research on that name in a few. Lois, of course, was Susan Rice's mother, and she had a major influence on the creation of Pell Grants. Her job history included working for Firestone and another company called Control Data Corporation. They were an interesting company working on the electromagnetic carousel and black project computers. Lois also was a strong name behind the basic education opportunity grants for the black community. The details of these companies might be of note, but I'm covering a great deal in this video and would like for you just to take away that she worked for a data intelligence company, as well as pushing free education for the black community. I said I would come back to Mary Daly, and when I was researching this name, I didn't find anything about a maid from Jamaica at all. And nothing really appears to be connected, so this is a complete side note, but it's interesting, and I'm going to tell you about it. The first Mary Daly, I found out, was an American radical feminist and philosopher. She was a radical lesbian feminist that taught at the Jesuit-run Boston College. She passed away in 2010, but while she was alive, she resigned from her job at Boston College because she had people that were very angry with her and pushing back that she, in her upper classes, that she was only teaching women and wouldn't teach men. So that was the first Mary Daly I found. The second Mary Daly of note would be Mary C. Daly, Dr. Daly. She's the CEO of the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco, and she was put as CEO in 2018. She's also an openly gay woman. She was previously the bank's executive vice president and director of research. So that's pretty interesting. And she's still alive. The first Mary Daly passed away in 2010. Then there is the third Mary Daly. The third Mary Daly that I found of note is William Barr's daughter. She is heading the opioid enforcement, and she is assisting the AG, which is currently William Barr, but she was previously appointed to Sessions. So that's all I'm going to mention about Mary Daly. Very off topic, possibly connected. Why don't you tell me what you think in the comments? So let's talk about Susan Rice a little bit. As many know, Susan Rice was the UN advisor and ultimately national security advisor under Obama. I'm not going to take time to retell her role in the Benghazi tragedy, except that she was most certainly involved. If you want more information and details about that particularly tragic event, you can refer to qmap.pub or find information many other various ways. Susan Rice worked for McKinsey & Company from 1990 to 1992 and still works with them by way of McKinsey Black Network, or MBN, starting in October of 2018. The MBN at the time had just finished some extensive research on the Black community, which they presented in October 2018 at some big to-do that was hosted by the CEO of BET, and none other than what is called the Beta Iota Boule. I certainly began to connect some dots to Susan Rice at this point I had not known. It would seem Susan Rice would be well versed in the world of the Boule, and in taking part in this research done by the McKinsey & Company's Black Network, one can surmise this is a big Boule convention, and the information being gathered isn't really to help the Black community at all, but to brainstorm and educate each other on all the ways that they will continue to hold the Black community down. If you don't remember or don't know what I'm talking about with the Black Boule, I did an entire video previous to this one on that, so refer to that for details. We talked about the Boule last video, but I want to mention a couple more things. There are 9 divine Black fraternities, including the Kappa Alpha Psi that I talked about before. It is noteworthy that they are all run and organized through the National Pan-Hellenic Council, or NPHC. It should go without saying that there's nothing good going on with a group named Pan-Hellenic. Interestingly enough, this company had a strategy to educate the Black population on voting, with a plan to lock arms with all the 9 divine, rather than just sticking with their assigned frats, to be at rallies, host rallies, register Blacks to vote, and even get jobs at the voting booths. They were working this hard as recently as the midterms of 2018. Their intentions? To keep the Black Americans totally blind to the truth, and to keep them of the staunch opinion that they must vote Democrat, and that Democrats are the only ones that care about them. See, even Susan Rice helped with this huge effort to research the community in order to better the community's lives, have better jobs, live in better homes. Wait. These are actually the very people that made it harder for felons coming out of prison to find homes, hold jobs, or even be allowed to be involved in voting whatsoever, as well as having a heavy hand in keeping the communities in poverty and elevating crime rates. And we now know the Black Boule is eating the white man's table scraps so they can stay in the house while keeping the majority of their people on the plantation. It's just disgusting. So, while this is all very interesting and noteworthy, I found myself still not making the connections I felt I was on the precipice of making. It seemed like I was moving in the right direction, but I believed there was something bigger that I needed to connect and couldn't quite put my finger on it. So I went back to Q350. The spider and the fly clues were on my mind the most now. Find the spider, build the web or map. We are the fly, and more specifically the feeder. I kept thinking web, fly, map, feeder, and kept saying that over and over in my head. I decided to research the words feeder maps. At first, I found feeder maps for schools. For instance, which grade schools go to what middle school and then to what high school. What I found even more of, though, were feeder maps for energy companies. They use distribution feeders, and these particularly are how they send energy through the electrical lines to powerhouses and so forth, reducing the high voltage and high energy step by step until it's at a safe level for our homes, safe being a relative term. When we look at this reversely, we see small voltage and energy starting in our homes and small businesses, not unlike the mini grade schools. Eventually, as more power and energy comes in, the electricity must go through a powerhouse and into larger transformers and wires and so on. As the power lines collect more energy, voltage, and power, they head towards a source via the feeder lines. The feeder maps show these lines on a geographical diagram. I also researched the basic term web feed and how that functions and comes about. Our computers via the internet gather information on us depending on our searches, likes, clicks, etc., and that generates feed for us suited to our interest, and this is called polling technology that starts broadly and ends narrowly. just like the school feeders and the electrical power line feeders. And we are feeders feeding the servers. I then went back to QMAP and searched for the words define map. The first one listed is Q drop number 764. Trust me, I looked at all the drops that were listed, but I was being pulled back to this drop over and over again. Q drop 764. Build the map. You are missing the connections. Continue to build the map. Map provides the key. Key spreads the truth. Truth shines light. Light saves humanity. Future proves past. Trust the plan. Now, I know there are so many very, very intelligent people out there that have probably done a great deal of work on this drop and others like it. And some would probably tell me that this is how the QMAP began because Q mentions the QMAP in another drop, and I assume that is before the website was here and everybody was still using 8chan. I would not disagree with that, but we've learned that things often have more than one meaning. I knew I was not quite there yet on this connection I was feeling pulled toward. I began repeating this drop 764 in my head out loud. I wrote it out several times in a couple different ways. I went back to old research on quantum AI and specifically James Simons. See the video Who is Q if you're not familiar with who James Simons is. And I started seeing the drop to read this: feeder to map, map to key, key to truth, truth to light and energy energy to humanity. I was reminded of quantum AI and its functionality when I was looking at James Simons again. And I looked up specifically quantum energy because I saw so many things on feeder maps about energy, and I thought about PG&E, but I didn't do a dig on that yet. And I just started thinking, let's look at quantum energy again. I came across many websites, and as I normally do, I go with a gut feeling and click on certain ones first. The one that I read through the most, I will most certainly put in the description box below a link. This website explains quantum energy and the act of observation. So I'm on the website quantumenergy.org. It's actually quantum-energy.org. And I'm going to just kind of go through this a little bit. I'm not going to read the whole thing because anyone can come look at it, but it talks about the act of observation and that theoretically any of the swarm of infinite possibilities present in the possibility wave can become reality, but only one does. The swarm is then said to have collapsed into a particular reality. One of the factors that determine the direction in which the swarm of possibilities collapses is the act of observation. In a quantum universe, phenomena in space and time are affected by the observer. All possibilities exist in the quantum field. The act of observation collapses this into probability. This stuff's so cool, guys. I could nerd out on this for days, but not all of you are into it. But basically what it talks about with quantum energy is we have these parallel levels, not alternate universes, not even parallel universes. We're all in the same place. Think of it like this. You and I walk around and we see what we see. Most of us don't see disembodied spirits. We don't see angels hovering. We don't even usually see demons. But in their level, in their parallel level of energy, they see us and they see each other. And so they're seeing more than we see. And yes, I know that there are people that are sensitive to this and can see it. And I think that can happen for us. That's God-given human gift that we have. However, it's been stifled for years by what I'm talking about here today. So imagine this. Imagine there's scripture where God sends an angel to destroy the city. And the angel is hovering over the city, about to destroy it. And nobody would know or see the angel. But someone that might be enlightened, or for reasons that I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this video, if that person could see the angel about to strike the city, it would be probably terrifying, because he would look very powerful and it'd be huge, enormous. But that is the parallel level that I'm talking about, is that we would see these things, these beings, demons, disembodied spirits, or however you want to call it, energies, and angels. And we wouldn't be an alternative universe. It wouldn't be a parallel universe where we're living a different life, doing different things over there, making different decisions, because we're only here. But they're talking about all the different possibilities do exist because we don't understand time the way God understands time. But that all these universes exist at this, not universes, well, they say universes, but that they all exist at the same time. And that there's numerous possibilities. But when you perceive and kind of pick one basically, or it's chosen, it all collapses into that one thing, and that is what you observe. So I'm probably confusing you already, so I'm just going to go back and read through. I wanted to go through how they next talk about string theory. And I'm mentioning these things for a reason, okay? If you watch And We Know, you saw this picture. So the string theory and the theory of entanglement. How can an electron jump from one spot to another without going through space between the 2 points? So it doesn't, right? It's going into a place we don't see is what happens, in my opinion. We don't see it. And even without taking any time to complete the process, even Albert Einstein was baffled by the phenomenon. String theory solves the problem by postulating an 11-dimensional multiverse. See, that's so much better. It's not, parallel universes. Electrons may jump out of existence in our universe into another and then reappear in our universe. God, this is so cool. Love it. The tunnel through which the electrons pass exists in another universe within the multiverse and is not subject to the rules of space and time that govern the limited number of dimensions of which we are aware. So cool. You guys can read more on that. I'll nerd out too much if I keep going. And then the entanglement of our brains. One of the most exciting new areas of brain research is the field of mirror neurons. Mirror neurons are neurons that fire in our brains when we witness an act done by another that requires the same group of neurons. When the neurons in the other person's brain fire and that person performs the action, the neurons in our brains fire in sympathy. When another person puts on a hat, for instance, the neurons in our brains that govern that action fire when we witness their action, just as the other person's neurons do when they perform it. This whole process happens without going through the normal sensory cognitive cycle that conventional brain models would suggest. Visual images passing from the optic nerve as our eyes witness the other person performing the action, then to the visual cortex, then to the parts of the brain that govern decision making, and eventually being translated into signals sent via the nervous system. Okay, so that's a lot of stuff, but they go into talking about a collective mind and a collective consciousness with all of this. They have other related things you can read. But that's important to think of us as a collective consciousness, because that means we're all connected together as human beings. And God gave us this connection for a reason. And I don't think it was to do evil. Do you? After looking at all of that information, I started thinking about the fly on the web again. And it had me thinking, a fly on the web vibrates the web filaments, sending a signal to the spider. Where it is, what it is, how big it is, and so on. We have electrical feeders, internet feeders, and wireless feeders, all feeding a larger and specific system. When I think about Morgellons disease and AI, and I look at the information that I provided previously on the video called The AI That Fell from the Sky, combine that with the information from people like SGT Report and We Know, and of course Q, on the subject, aliens and demons, I started to see the connection I was really trying to see. It all came together. And again, I was reminded of Michael Crichton's book, Prey, when it hit me. We are the feeders. We are the prey. The larger system is not larger in size, but in power. This power and these controllers have used subversion tactics, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, please watch my video called Legislating Equality Will Destroy a Free Nation. They have used subversion tactics, brainwashing, mind control, and I have a video on that too, education, emotional manipulation, and so many other things for thousands of years. The technology is just different again. The TV came around, all these new technologies came around, and now we have quantum AI. They created an AI through dark forces trying, possibly successfully, to retrieve dark energy from parallel multiverses and energy levels to insert and implant into us to lower, decrease, and ultimately eradicate our God-given humanity. This is the ultimate mind control, to implant in us a way to send and receive signals that control our thoughts, behaviors, and actions. If you're still not sure what I'm talking about, I explained thoroughly in the AI That Fell from the Sky video, and how Morgellons appears to be a tiny nanobot technology with send and receive capabilities. So please refer back to that one for more details. This ultimate mind control would ensure that those in power could take over all consciousness from God and turn it over to evil, they thought. This conscious controlling AI would be polling technology, if you recall, and lowering our energy and our light. We are the feeders, and running it back along the feeder maps to the power source, the spiders. Fly on a spider web. Web is the map to the key to the truth to light and energy, light to the feeder, that's us, the feeder is humanity. What we must remember is that, like FISA, the information goes both ways. We are now acutely aware of what they wanted for us. And we know reports, the wall is for so much more than what the optics show. There are truly aliens among us, and they are not from outer space. We have more than we know. We have the truth. From Luke 8:17, we read, "For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad." In John 3:19, we read, "And this is the condemnation, that the light has come into the world, and men love darkness rather than light, because their deeds were evil." What is the truth and the light? God. The power of the Holy Spirit is all we need, and that is in us already. That is all we need in order to battle the dark powers of this world. There is no technology, no demon, no spirit that is not from God, no AI, and not even Satan himself, that can defeat us with the power of our Lord. In the end, God wins. Ephesians 6:10. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. Therefore, put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground, and after you have done everything, to stand.